Jai Shri Ram. The word critical has many meanings depending on the context in which you are using it. One meaning is expressing adverse or disapproving comments, condemnatory. So, being critical means condemnatory, censorious, expressing adverse or disapproving comments. Next, involving an analysis of the merits and faults of a work of literature, music, or art. So, she never won the critical acclaim she sought. Evaluative, analytic. Okay. Criticize severely. That is, we already said that, condemnatory. So don't be so critical. They were critical of the new policies. Next, involving criticism, critical writings. Okay. Of or relating to the judgment of critics. The play was a critical success. Now, critics are people who are expected to be knowledgeable, which means intellectual, and also provide a balanced judgment. That means they have to be objective. Objective means factual, no partiality. Subjective means feeling. Subjective analysis, objective analysis. So critics are expected to be objective, but unfortunately, critics do get subjective, and then their judgments are skewed. And we need to understand this very well because there are several GRE essays on the role of critics and artists. For example, one of the essay topic goes like this: it is the artists, not the critics, who give society something of lasting value. It is the artist, not the critic, who gives society something of lasting value. You have 30 minutes to write an essay. Now you can, in your introduction, you will say something like this, that both critics and artists can contribute something of lasting value, but it all depends on their integrity. Full stop. In other words, if critics are true to the role a critic has to play, which is to make an objective analysis, then the critic will be able to make useful contributions to society. And similarly, artists who are true to the core values of aesthetics and art, then they will be able to make some useful contributions to society. Right? That will be your introduction. So you will write 4 paragraphs. In one paragraph, you will talk about how good artists can make useful contributions to society. Now, art encompasses 7 areas. Fine arts: sculpture, architecture, painting. These 3 are called fine arts. Why? Well, the reasoning is that because they are appreciated by the visual sense, and visual sense is more important than the other senses, so they are called fine arts. So, fine arts means sculpture, architecture, painting. And then the general arts are dance, drama, which means literature, poetry and prose, and music, and movies can also be included. So you have 7. So in all these 7 areas, there have been great artists who have made tremendous contributions to the growth of society, who have contributed to reform. Many satirical writers and poems which are satirical. The function of satire is to reform society, because satire does not directly attack people, in which case they can resort to litigation, law courts. So whereas satire is much more sophisticated, it's an indirect criticism exposing the foibles of people in society. FOIBLE, foible means a minor flaw, exposing not just the foibles, even the felonies of society. So satire is a very useful way to reform society. So then you have dance, sculpture, architecture, painting, and then you have dance, drama, literature, dance, drama, music, and movies. So there are many movies which have a good message for society, which can contribute to the progress of society, which are inspirational, etc. So I don't have to explain this in great detail. You can write 1 paragraph on this. Next paragraph, however, there can be artists who actually make a negative contribution to society. Movies which help people to learn how to commit crimes are one example. Novels which contain a lot of vulgarity and also contain stuff which can lower public morality, or even cause violent strife in society by causing communal riots, etc., are extremely dangerous. So sculptures are also there. This is in all these 7 areas you can find artists who have produced art which actually harms the interests of society. So these are dangerous artists. They have to be curbed. In the name of freedom of art, freedom of expression, you cannot allow artists to run riot, ride roughshod on deeper sentiments of people. In India, it's a common problem. For example, Hindi film industry, the Kachada wood or Bulli wood, Urdu wood, they routinely produce movies which are denigrating Hinduism. That Amir Khan, PK, so many examples are there. Would they dare to do something like that with Islam and Christianity? Never. So, and we Hindus are tolerating this nonsense for too long, and this is not a good sign. So, these are dangerous artists. So, there are artists of all kind. Now, in this second paragraph, you will talk about how artists can actually cause moral decay in society, bring about labifaction. In all these Bollywood cinemas, you will find a lot of vulgarity. So, they are promoting the raunch culture. RAUNCH, raunch. Raunchy means vulgar. Raunchy, racy, ribald, body, risk, RISQUE. All means sexually explicit and promoting the raunch culture, vulgarity. Even children, young children, girls are being made to dress up in bikinis and dance, and silly, stupid parents are, being encouraged to introduce their daughters into this kind of dance programs, competitions on TV, so which are grossly indecent, and they contribute to labifaction of society. LABEFACTION. Labifaction means moral degeneration. So I can go on and on. I think you have understood the idea. So there are lots of artists who are actually who have a pestilential effect on society. If there is something that has to be criticized, they should have the courage to criticize Islam and Christianity too, which they will never dare to. They try to ridicule non-existent principles or rituals of Sanatan Dharma. They don't know the Vedas, they don't study the Bhagavad Gita, but they ridicule our gods and our entire pantheon. So these are dangerous artists. So you have written now 2 paragraphs. One about artists who make good contributions. 2 about artists who can harm society. Next you write about, now let us examine how critics can also contribute positively. So political critics, religious critics, culture critics, academic critics, scientific critics, food critics, movie critics, book critics, you have critics, economic critics in every area. And a critic is expected to be an intellectual, well informed, and a public intellectual who contributes to reform and progress of society. So these are people. For example, in religion, every grown up would like to know the contents of the major religions at least. It is said that there are some 4,300 religions in the world today. Who has the time to read all the holy books of all these religions? But at least Hinduism, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, Taoism, Confucianism, these are some religions which can be called the major ones. So all grown-ups would have some curiosity to know the contents, the tenets, TENET, principles of these religions. Now, but unfortunately, most of us don't have the time to read all these holy books. But if somebody could read them, if somebody has the time to read them, and if he can provide us a summarized version, a balanced version, which is objective and factual, then that person would be making a useful contribution to our knowledge. So such a religious critic is indeed very useful, who should have the courage to openly condemn if there is something in the religion which is condemnable. Like for example, slavery, child marriage, polygamy, female genital mutilation, and killing of infidels, murdering infidels, calling unbelievers, all kinds of names which are derogatory. For example, pagan, heathen, gentile, kafir, kuffar. All these are extremely pejorative, derogatory terms which are used to refer to unbelievers or infidels. And unfortunately, in these religions, These infidels have to be either proselytized, which means convert, or subjected to an inquisition. Inquisition was a dark chapter in Christian history. The word inquisition has two meanings. It means historically it meant a medieval tribunal set up by Vatican, set up by the Christian Church to stamp out heresy. Anybody criticizing Christianity was burnt alive. Bruno was burnt alive. Galileo was subjected to torture and he had to recant his theory. Galileo objected, protested against the biblical concept that the earth is flat and the sun is going around the earth. They threatened to kill Galileo. So he publicly recanted. He took back the statement and silently, I believe, said, and yet it moves. Because the Bible said the earth is static, the sun moves around the earth, which is grossly wrong. So he questioned it and he was subjected to the worst kind of torture. Joan of Arc, the heroine of the French nation, she won the 100 Years' War. A young girl of barely 16 years. She was a Christian. She was born in a Catholic family, but she never accepted the authority of the Pope for obvious reasons. The popes have been biggest criminals in the history of the world. So for which she was imprisoned, she was raped, she was tonsured, she was tortured and burnt alive. But after 100 years, the French people rose in revolt, and because of their protest, the Christian Church, Vatican, acknowledged their mistake and canonized Joan of Arc. So Joan of Arc is considered a saint now. The Vatican or the Christian Church and the Pope owe Hindus an apology for the Goan Inquisition that took place in India, where lakhs of Hindus were murdered, women were tortured, and all kinds of crimes were perpetrated on Hindus. And the man, Saint Francis Xavier, he was no saint. He is a criminal of Indian history. But there are many Christian institutions with that name in this country. So somebody has to expose this man. He was not a saint. And gullible Hindus go to Goa and go to that World Heritage Center where the mummy of Frantic Xavier, I call him Frantic Xavier because he was an extremist. He was a Christian fanatic. And he was the power behind the Goan Inquisition, which was funded by the King of Spain, Ferdinand, and his queen Isabella. So he was no saint. Saint Frantic Xavier was a criminal, mass murderer of Hindus. So Hindu Holocaust, Muslim invasions, it is believed that more than 80 million Hindus were butchered by Muslim invasions. Right? There is no Holocaust museum. In Goa, Francis Francois Goitia, a Frenchman who settled in India, who is a lover of Hinduism and Sanatana Dharma, perhaps he is now a Hindu only. He has established a Hindu Holocaust museum which depicts what all happened. I think mainly about Goan Inquisition. But we don't have a single book. 80 million means 800 lakh Hindus were butchered. And we have a mountain range called Hindu Kush, which means a Persian word for slaughter. Hindus died. Hindus were slaughtered. Children and women were killed and raped, and men were slaughtered. So no critic dares to write a book. History critics are rare. Our history was written by people who were sold out. Romila Thapar, Irfan Habib, Sharma, and so many other, Jha, all these historians, they have never written the correct history. So, and nobody has the guts to critique them. Hopefully in future the real history will be told and historical critics will come up. Already many are there. They are doing great work. So now religious critics are very important. So you may not have time to read the Bhagavad Gita, Quran, Bible, and other holy books. If somebody can read them and give you a balanced view and courageously expose what is criminal and praise what is worth praising, then you will be well informed. But unfortunately, in the name of secularism in our country, we have silly, stupid people who say that all religions are good and they all lead to God. And I am certain they are not. I am convinced that only Hinduism will lead you to God. Other religions are likely to lead you to hell. I don't know if I talk beyond this, perhaps somebody might question me and file a case. But anyway, I will be able to defend it, that is a different thing. So, in a country where an intellectual does not have the freedom to express his opinions, I am not abusing anybody, but if I am not allowed to say even this much, then what kind of freedom do I have as a Hindu? While they are making movies where Amir Khan put Shiva in a bathroom and is making him run, and Hinduism and Hindu gods and Devis are, ridiculed, while Hindus do not have the courage or not given the freedom. So, this I think is extremely dangerous. This is not a democracy. We are the most exploited people. We are living like third class citizens. Hindus are third class citizens in their own country in spite of being a majority. Pakistan was created on the lines of religion. Ambedkar said all Muslims should be sent away. We didn't follow him, we didn't listen to him, and today we are fighting for our own important main temples also they are not willing to give up. There are more than 40,000 temples which have been broken down and on which mosques have been built. We are not even asking for all the 40,000. We are asking for Kashi, Mathura and Vrindavan. But even these three they are not willing to give. So, this is the sad state of the Hindu. How many critics are willing to write like this? And if I write an article, do you think any newspaper will publish it? No, because all the newspapers are tendentious. T-E-N-D-E, tendentious, D-E-N-T-I-O-U-S. Tendentious means biased, showing partiality to a particular side. So, critics who are tendentious are dangerous, they will mislead you. Political critics, religious critics, cultural critics. There are so many writers who take great pleasure in criticizing Hinduism, as if everything about Hinduism is wrong and bad. Of course, there are some customs which we have mindlessly acquired by imitating the Abrahamic religions, which are bad, we should give them up. But nobody has read the Bhagavad Gita or the Vedas, and as a result, we mistakenly think that the religion is at fault. The religion is not at fault. There are many criminal activities that have crept into the religion, but these things are not there in the original, that is not there in the Bhagavad Gita. So, if a religious critic explains all these things in a small book, then you think everyone will be well informed. So, that kind of a critic does a great job, and in fact these critics perhaps do a better job than any great artist, because a society which is well informed, knowledgeable and contains people who are progressive in their thinking, that will be the best thing for the whole of mankind, isn't it? So, this is our civic responsibility. It is your civic duty to be well informed, and a good critic will help you to be well informed. So, you can talk about all kinds of scientific critics, like I told you, academic critics, cultural critics, political critics, religious critics, food critics, movie critics. So many movies are being made. Who has the time to watch all of them, and how do you know which one is good and worth watching? But unfortunately, many critics are paid to write blurbs, B-L-U-R-B. Blurb is publicity. They take money from the producer and write a nice article giving it 5 stars. If you go and watch the movie, you will be shocked. It is a horrible, unbearable movie. So, this critic has failed his profession. He has no integrity. So, a good critic should give you a balanced view of what movie to watch and what not to watch, so that he can save you time and so that you watch the right movies. I can go on and on. I think by now you have understood how important. In fact, I would dare say that critics are more important than artists, especially in this era. So, now then you can write about one paragraph where critics have failed us and who are misleading because they are tendentious, partial critics who actually mislead the whole of people. So, such critics are dangerous. So, actually you have ended up writing one paragraph praising good artists who contribute positively. Second paragraph, dangerous artists who have their own hidden agendas who contribute to moral decay of society. Third paragraph, good critics who can contribute make new valuable contributions. One more paragraph about how tendentious critics can actually harm the interest of any society, if not the whole of mankind, right? So, communism is there. For example, communism is a failed philosophy, but still many communists are still, and many youth in many of our universities are subscribing to communist ideology. Karl Marx himself was a drunkard. All his theories failed, all his predictions failed. So, I don't want to dwell on this now. So, but nobody has the courage, and even now young people subscribe to this mindless, unnatural ideology called communism, and they take pride in calling themselves intellectuals. Left-leaning liberals They are the most narrow-minded, obscurantist, benighted lot. We can't call them liberal. The true liberal is a follower of Krishna or Rama. If you study Bhagavad Gita and imbibe the teachings there, then you will become a true liberal. Not when you study the other religions, whom I don't have to name because you understand who I am referring to. And last, definitely not. The worst thing is communism. Okay. So now let us get back to our discussion on critical. So critical. Next, criticism. I just delivered a small talk on several essays in the GRE AVA, where you have to write on the role of essay critics and artists. Okay. Critical thinking, critical commentary involving careful judgment, and critical edition of Mahabharata. Look at that one at the bottom, D. Including variant readings and scholarly emendation. Emendation means to correct. E-M-E-N-D, correct. Amend means modify. A-M-E-N-D. Constitutional amendment. Now, unfortunately in India, the government has not played any role, not funded any institution to come up with critical editions of Ramayana and Mahabharata, which is the sad tragedy of we Hindus, because we have never been assertive. Now, Mahabharata and Ramayana are the grand narrative of Hindus, the grand narrative of Bharat. India is not the real name. India is the name which the Englishman gave us. Our real name of the nation is Bharat. The grand narrative of Bharat is Ramayana and Mahabharata. Where are the critical editions? A critical edition means variant readings and scholarly emendations. You see, it is believed that more than 300 versions of Ramayana and Mahabharata, in fact more, I am not giving you an exact number, exist. Now, in Pune there is an institute, Bhandarkar Institute of Oriental Research. One Mr. Bhandarkar made an effort and he produced some 25 volumes without any government support. And that is no longer in print because the government is not supporting. I am trying in vain to get myself a copy because great work was undertaken. Many, all the versions of Mahabharata were put together and a redacted version, redact, R-E-D-A-C-T. Redact means revise and edit and revise and produce a redacted version. So that many interpolations are taken out. So Ramayana and Mahabharata contain lot of interpolations, which means over time many silly things and stupid things, unnatural. For example, animal sacrifice. Yajna is not sacrifice. There is no killing of animals. Even now, even Gita Press publications contain mention about how horse was sacrificed. A horse was sacrificed in the name of Ashwamedha Yajna by Sri Rama, which is wrong. There is no animal killing. Vedas are completely opposed to animal sacrifice. Unfortunately, many great people, founders of great institutions, in fact ISKCON, Swami Prabhupada himself writes in his books, in Srimad Bhagavatam, his commentary, and even in the Bhagavad Gita commentary, he mentions that in Vedic times it was justified in killing animals. So he is a great man. I don't want to go beyond my authority to criticize him, but the fact of the matter is Vedas are completely opposed to animal sacrifice. Yajna does not mean sacrifice. Okay, so this is not the forum or the place for me to discuss this. So be in the know. Rest assured that yajna does not mean sacrifice. In fact, the word sacrifice connotes killing, slitting somebody's neck. Yajna is an untranslatable word. Please do not use the word sacrifice. Ashwamedha does not mean horse sacrifice. Ashwamedha, Ashwa means Rashtram. Ashwamedha means expanding the kingdom. It can mean infrastructure development. It can mean agriculture. Rashtram va Ashwamedha, Annam hi gau, Ajyam Medha. The Medha means intelligence. Medha does not mean kill. There are many institutes, coaching institutes, which call themselves Medha Institute of Coaching. Does it mean students are being slaughtered there? Not at all. So many idiots who don't know Vedic Sanskrit, don't know classical Sanskrit, go ahead and they have written commentaries. And unfortunately, most of us read those commentaries and we are completely misled. So this is a sad state. There is no critical edition of Mahabharata. Government should support it. So that we can remove all the interpolations. Interpolations means foreign text which has been introduced into a into an original which was not there originally. Okay. Now further, critical decision, critical turning point, critical juncture means a watershed, an important turning point. Critical care, patient is critical, that means there is a danger of death. Critical illness, critical injuries, and critical phase. A critical phase means in your life as a student, you are going through a critical phase. I am happy if you have been listening patiently to me. My dear friends, young students, at your age, if you listen to me honestly, there was hardly anybody to tell me things which I am telling you right now. Had somebody been there to tell me these things which I am telling you, when I was young as you, I wouldn't have made so many mistakes in my life and I lost a lot of time. So, my attempt is to advise you to learn from my mistakes so that you don't make the same mistakes that I made, so that you progress faster on your career, in your career. Change your attitude completely. Be positive. Keep working 24 hours. Time is the most valuable resource. Don't waste your time watching stupid movies, hanging around with foolish friends, and don't attend birthday parties, marriage parties. Let others go. You work like Edison, work like Chhatrapati Shivaji, work like Vivekananda, work like our Prime Minister Narendra Modi. 24 hours. Improve your communication skills. Speak English far better than your mother tongue. Acquire a massive vocabulary, specialize, know your aptitude, identify your calling. Calling means a profession for which you have great passion and aptitude. What's your calling? Unfortunately, many young people don't know what their calling is. So they waste their time experimenting, getting into colleges, getting all kinds of degrees, which may make them financially successful, but they will never be fulfilled. Self-actualization is the highest ideal of education, which means being all that you can be, achieving your fullest potential. So I have just donned the role of an academic critic. I condemn our existing academic system, because our existing academic system and the university courses and the education that all that is happening in the name of education in our country is nonsense. We are only producing clerks. So we have to get rid of this and bring back the Gurukul system, where originality, creativity and individual aptitudes are tested and people are taught subjects according to their aptitude. Then they can become masters. Unfortunately, we are not producing any champions at all. We are producing a whole lot of clerks. Right. So, next, critical injuries. So, critical phase of your life. My dear friends, you are at the critical phase of your life. Please listen to me. Watch my videos. Watch all my YouTube videos. At least the GRE 2 playlists are there, so that you improve your vocabulary. This is very essential. So, the next critical condition, serious state, that means a patient is running the risk of dying. So, life support systems are all necessary. And critical temperature. Critical temperature means at which a definite change will take place. If something is critical to an operation, that means it is vital, indispensable. This is critical. Right attitudes, communication skills, mastery of rhetoric, and continuous working, kaizen, Japanese word, Kaizen, constant improvement, being a karma yogi. Stop bothering about the failures and successes. We will have enough time to celebrate successes later. Keep working constantly. You see, Edison went to school only for 3 months. Henry Ford attended school only for 3 months. Edison doesn't have a degree, but he has got 1054 patents. Of course, there is somebody who claims that he has got more patents now. Of course, with all these educational facilities available now, and I do not know what kind of products he invented. Some silly ones for which patents are granted. So, Edison, Thomas Alva Edison. There are a lot of things that happened between Edison and Tesla. There was a lot of bitter enmity. That's a different thing. But Edison is a great man. Never went to school. 3 months only. No degree. 1054 patents. What do you call that man? He is the ultimate inspiration for all of us. There should be a temple for Edison and a temple for Tesla. These are the people for whom you should build temples also, in addition to Rama and Krishna, isn't it? So, what are the other name? Albert Einstein and all of them. So, they were. So these are these attitudes, these skills. These are critical to your success, my dear friend. And let us see, are there any more meanings for the word critical? Critical shortage, critical situation, that means a crisis. A critical test means a crucial, important test. Oh my God. In physics, if things reach a critical mass, then that means a chain reaction will be set off. So nuclear reactors, sometimes they go out of control. If the reactor goes critical, that means a nuclear chain reaction will be set off, and Fukushima and all those nuclear Chernobyl, so many accidents have taken place. So critical mass. Now this phrase is important. If anything reaches a critical mass, which means something big is going to happen. That means that is the tipping point. That is a point at which even the slightest change will cause massive destruction, or extraordinary changes will follow. We say that is the last straw that broke the camel's back. So that is called tipping point or critical mass. So reaching critical mass. Critically ill patient. Examine critically. It means examine very carefully. Hypercritical. People are hypercritical, excessively critical, meticulous, unreasonably. It's right. So there are lots of people who are hypercritical about Hinduism, but they don't have the slightest courage to question Islam, Christianity, or communism. Jai Shri Ram. I hope you enjoyed listening to this small talk. Write a good essay about, the topic was, it is artists, not the critics, who provide something of lasting value to society, who give society something of lasting value. Right? Jai Shri Ram. Please write your essay, put it on WhatsApp, and I will give you an audio file, feedback about how you have written, so that you can be a good writer. Remember, writing skills in your career are also very important, much more than speaking skills. Jai Shri Ram.